You'd remember this year, President Cyril Ramaphosa vowed to fix the logistics constraints that have cost the mining sector over 50 billion rand in exports. And this, of course, was in February. Some have said that this is catastrophic. Others are calling it treasonous. Now, Transnet, of course, and the Mineral Council South Africa have also been, talking about this particular situation. The Mineral Council of South Africa worried about what is unfolding there as the logistical constraints really are causing a huge problem for some of the businesses. Let's now speak to Henk Langenhoven, who is the Chief Economist at Minerals Council South Africa. Henk, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We've seen in some reports, tempers are flaring, and others are saying that this is treasonous, but others are saying things aren't at crisis level yet, but they're catastrophic. What do you say?
Well, if you think our estimates are that we couldn't export, or that Transnet couldn't transport and handle our cargo through the ports to the tune of about 50 billion on a total number of about 800 billion. So it's big numbers, and it influences everybody, because we are, and especially the bulk exports. Bulk exports are 50% of mining exports, and that's the heavy stuff like iron ore and coal and magnetite and chrome. So it is a very big deal, and we are simultaneously very concerned about the switch to road. We are quite worried that we are at capacity with road transport, and that because the harbors are not built to handle road transport, for one, and secondly, if you talk to the communities and people in Richards Bay and in Kabeja, you will hear their frustrations with the trucking, the destruction of their roads, the dust, etc. So, and I mean, the sad thing is that the 50 billion that we estimate is simply the difference between what could be handled actually versus the contractual obligations that Transnet has. That doesn't mean that's the capacity of the rail and network system, what it was designed for. If you compare that with what actually happened, you get a number that's over 100 billion. And that's actually very, very big numbers for the country, for the fiscus, for our balance of payments, etc. So very concerned about it.
And definitely concerning when you think about these businesses that would have found themselves under pressure when it comes to COVID-19. At the same time, there's so much going on right now, rolling blackouts, and just the rising cost of living. Now, from your vantage point, where are the problems? Where are the bottlenecks when it comes to resolving this particular crisis?
It's I think a culmination of several issues that happened over a period of time. Of course, one big issue is the fact that we don't have locomotives, and we all know the debacle about the locomotives and the fact that we can't get spares. So if you have wagons and it's loaded and you can't get locomotives to take it to the ports, then that is a big issue. The other major concern is the deterioration in the quality of the systems, meaning that we haven't done enough maintenance on all sorts of things, on the wagons, on locomotives that we have, on the fixed infrastructure, on the signaling. And on top of that, we've heard, for example, this week, quite a substantial increase in load shedding impacting on Eskom. So it's much cheaper to use an electric locomotive than a diesel one, and we can't willy-nilly replace them. And it puts you in a corner. And if you then have a problem that you cannot deliver or offload or transport more than a certain tonnages on road, then you're really in a corner. And just remember, the backlog or the sort of background behind this is fairly good commodity prices still at this time. We were really benefiting a lot from the uncertainties around COVID-19. And the fact that there was such a problem with international logistics. What we're talking about here is actually the domestic logistics that isn't helping us to exploit the opportunities that are there. And then you have the domino effect of us not being able to perform.
As a final question then, very briefly, let's look at, Transnet then, because a lot of people still say that, this is a situation that needs to be arrested. In the past, even some saying that this decline needs to be arrested at Transnet. Transnet needs to really do what it needs to be doing. But others are arguing that, of course, given the historical issues with what we also heard in the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, they need to give Transnet a chance to be able to rebuild. Where do you stand on that? Where do you place the blame on this particular one?
Well, it's a no-brainer that we have to rebuild, that we have to rebuild. I mean, it's not Transnet only. And the mining sector has been really at the forefront of offering advice and talking and offering analysis and studies about what could be done. So the country, I don't think people realize that the country spent twice the amount of money as input cost on transport and logistics, of which Transnet and the rail system and the harbors is a very, very big component. So it's in the interest of everybody that we rebuild this. It doesn't look as if we have stabilized it yet. There are many things happening that are very positive, and we hope that the draft terms of reference for the President's Logistics Crisis Committee will go through soon, so that we have a framework and everybody pulling in the same direction, as you were, to put our heads together and get to the best solutions. The country really needs this.
Yeah, definitely, the country does. And thank you so much for that, Henk. Do appreciate it. Let's see then what this crisis committee really comes up with, because this is a situation that a lot are saying is a ticking time bomb, and if not arrested immediately, it could lead to some serious catastrophe. That was Henk Langenhoven, Chief Economist at the Minerals Council South Africa. We've also reached out to Transnet to be able to get their reaction. So we're still waiting then to see what they say on this.